Okay, so starting off in the 2023 Acura Integra A-Spec. So here we go. It's rainy, it's wet. Let's go in this front wheel drive, little 200 horsepower firecracker. All right, so this review is not going to be comprehensive. This is going to be much more of just my driving impressions and just some general thoughts I have on this Integra. And as a bonus, how it compares to the new Honda Civic, especially the new Honda Civic Si. If you've watched my other videos where I've reviewed the new Honda Civic, I've driven the Honda Civic Touring and the Honda Civic Si quite extensively, and I've enjoyed them both a lot. I think that Honda nailed this car is fun. I think that Honda's nailed the new Civic, and by extension, this new Integra is excellent. Now, I admit I'm a bit of a Honda and Acura fanboy. I've owned lots of them. I even owned a 2000 Honda Civic Si. I owned two, a 97 and a 2000 Honda Prelude SH. I had a 1991 Acura Legend that I adored. I actually owned that car twice, and that's another story for another day. One of my favorite cars is the original Acura NSX, and I love the current one as well, or I guess the now dead one, but you know, the most recent Acura NSX. And so I admit this is probably coming from a biased place, but I will say that this new Integra is very good. And let me back up a little bit. When the new Integra was announced, I was pretty excited, as a lot of people were. There was a lot of questions and wondering, what will it look like? What will it perform like? Will it be like the old Integras, especially the beloved Integra Type R in that Phoenix yellow paint that everybody with the B18 C5 engine that we just adore, myself included. I wish I would have bought one years ago, just like everybody. I could have. I had the opportunity, and I didn't do it. Same thing with a 1995 Acura NSX, red with tan leather. I regret not buying those cars. They're special. And so when it was announced that the ILX was going away and the Integra was coming back, of course I was interested and very curious, with some, decent dose of skepticism there as well. Is this just an ILX, or does this retain, or rather resurrect, some of the spirit that the old Integra had? And after spending a week with it and putting a couple hundred miles on it, I can tell you that for the most part it does. Now, is this the raw Integra Type R or even GSR from the late 90s and early 2000s? No, I would say it's not. But if I had to imagine, if the Integra had continued for the last 20 years, what would it be like today? And if I think of it that way, then this Integra is probably exactly what the Integra would have been had it been continued on as an Integra for the last 20 years. And I know that it has, it's gone to the RSX, and there's been the ILX, whatever, but that original spirit, I would imagine that this is what it would have been. And so in that sense, I think it's a great evolution of that original spirit that was in the Integra. And I did forget to mention, I owned a 1992 Acura Integra GSR in the Aztec green pearl paint, which was amazing. So cool, that B17 engine. The trouble that the new Acura Integra runs into is with its own half-sibling, the Honda Civic Si. I did a video on that you hopefully have seen. If not, go back and watch it. And I really loved that car. I think it's an excellent sports car that's affordable. Not totally, don't roast me in the comments. It's not a purebred sports car, I understand. But what I'm getting at is, if you're someone like me, for example, coming from a Subaru BRZ or a sports car like a GR86 or a GT86 or FRS. I love those cars. But the sad truth, the sad reality, and it's not sad, it's a happy thing. Me, or I, as a father with two small children, 6 and 3, almost 7 and 4, they've grown out of those small two-door sports car coupes. And for the time being, that's where we're at. And if anybody's out there like me with small children that wants a sports car but needs the space, the new Civic, this Integra, are excellent options. A lot of the spirit that I feel in the BRZ and the new GR86 is present here, especially in the Civic Si, which leads me to one of my main points, and it's this. If it were my money, I think I would buy the Honda Civic Si. That doesn't mean that this isn't a good car. It's an excellent car. But it's also almost $8,000 or $9,000 in some instances more than the Honda Civic Si. So it comes down to what you want. If you want the hatchback, which by the way, I'll be straight up with you, I'm a little disappointed in. To get things into the hatch requires that you kind of lift it up and over and down and in. This is not the same shape or hatch as the Honda Civic Sport hatchback. It's a different shape. So there's less headroom in the rear, and the hatch is harder to get things into. And I think, I don't know the measurements, I've read them, I don't remember them, but there's less cargo room back there, I believe, because it is more of a sloping fastback design rather than like a true rounded hatch. And so, but if you really want a hatch with the Si engine, you got to get it here. If you want all the tech, you want that cool, amazing ELS stereo, which I'm not going to show you all of that in here. Like, you can read the spec sheet. At this point, you know what tech is out there. It's all the safety features. This doesn't have a 360 camera, bewilderingly. I don't know if that would help a lot its case. I mean, my Mazda 3 Turbo that I owned for a long time, that had a 360 beautiful camera, and it was $3,000 or $4,000 less than this, and that had all-wheel drive and turbocharged, and it was a true hatch. So I think that this is a bit of a tough sell. I do think it's excellent, but you can get a lot of the same tech and features in the new Honda Civic Si and save yourself $8,000. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I think the Si looks better. There's been multiple people that I've talked with that have thought that this was a Mercedes CLA, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just think that the Civic Si looks better. My final thoughts on this. If you want the added luxury, if you want the suede seats, the leather, the ELS Studio, you know, a little extra nicer materials inside, which, by the way, I think the interior is unnecessarily busy. I think they were just kind of grasping at straws to differentiate it from the Civic's interior, which is super clean and simple. The dash has this like little swoop on it that I'm not in love with. They covered up some of the most beautiful mesh here, like where the honeycomb is in the Civic. They covered up part of it with this, not quite carbon fiber, but it kind of looks like carbon fiber plastic, and it has adaptive dampers and different drive modes, and that's cool. But I will also say that the sound isn't all the way, it's not piped in as much as it is in the Civic, which some of you will be very happy to hear. But it's interesting that I didn't feel the same like driving spirit as I did in the Civic Si. I wasn't as eager to drive it as aggressively or have as much fun with it. It feels more buttoned down. And so if that's what you're looking for, then go for it. This is so good. I've been getting 34.5 miles to the gallon, all-wheel driving, it's quick, legitimately quick. I think it's underrated 200. This has got to be closer to 220, 230. The engine's wonderful. I love it. There's not much rev hang It drops pretty quickly. There is some, but it's not terrible. It's not annoying. The 6-speed manual continues to be fantastic. It did feel somehow slightly looser than it did in the Civic Si, even though I know it's exactly the same. There's a lot of room back there. I think there is less in here than there is in the Civic Si. There's still no rear here, air vents here, which I kind of think is a zonk against it. And so it just comes down to what you want. If you want something like a Civic Si with more luxury, more features, then go and get this. It's a great car. But I think it is up against some stiff competition. The Mazda 3 Turbo, loaded up, has more features and more luxury and more power, and it's all-wheel drive. No, you can't get it with a 6-speed manual transmission, but you get it for all of that for less money. But overall, I've really enjoyed my time with this. I'm very grateful for Acura for letting me have spent time with it. And I think in general, Acura and Honda are doing just very exciting things right now, and that we should be paying attention. I can't wait to get my hands on a Civic Type R and see how that is. And I can't wait to see what this Integra maybe evolves into. I think it's good as is, but I'm excited to see with some refinements and some more thought, put into some things, what it could be in the future. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, I appreciate it. Subscribe. I'd love to see this channel grow. Until next time, cheers.